Hey everybody, Mike Pfeiffer. After I posted the last video, and along the way, I've talked to some guys about this stuff. But when I did the trophies up here, I had a lot of people coming back and reminiscing about motorcycle racing back in the day, and motorcycles in general. And I decided, or I told people at that time, that I would try and put together a video. And what I've done is I've photographed all my old motorcycle photographs. Now, as you can imagine, back in the early 70s, there are not a lot of photographs of me riding motorcycles, but I do have some photographs of some of the motorcycles I have owned and some of the cars and so forth, but we'll get into the cars another day. But some of these trophies here, there is several up there. This particular one with the blue on it was Lalou Speedway. I talk in the video about a crash I had there, but we did have some success there. Obviously, this is from the this gold one. This big gold one right here is from the hill climb, where I mentioned in the video that you're about ready to see about beating a Harley Davidson there. It's in the story, and there's several here. And this one here with the 73 on it. That was, you'll see a girl holding that. And there's miscellaneous trophies there from all the different places that I raced, all of them in New Mexico. We didn't travel a long distance back then to do it, especially since we were novices. Amateur and novice trophies. There's no major events there or anything like that. But in my case, it was fun for me. It was what I did when I was a young kid. I didn't have, and I told you this with the Mustang, I didn't have money for a fast car, so I opted for fast motorcycles. My mother and father didn't like it too much. My mom only came to one race the entire time, 10 years that I raced motorcycles. My dad very rarely came because my mother wouldn't come. She always said she was afraid to see me get hurt. I only got hurt the one time, really. But nevertheless, this is just a collage and an explanation of motorcycles and racing and stuff that I did in the early 1970s. And I guess with that being said, we might as well get on with this. Okay guys, this is me in front of my house when I was probably about 14, 15 maybe. And this is my first actual two-wheel motorcycle. It's a little Benelli mini bike. I don't remember what year it is, but that's what I first learned to ride on two wheels. And here is my dad's 66 Mustang that he bought when we were living at this same house. Now we'll move on to the next bike. Now, this little motorcycle here was a 125 Yamaha MX, and I'm guessing it was probably about a 69 or 70 model. I don't really remember, but this was the first one that I flat tracked. I had done some motocross on a couple of borrowed motorcycles before this, but this was my first flat track motorcycle. Also, you can see in this picture that my mother and father had moved out to the mountains, and I was probably about 18 in this picture, 17, 18. Now this little motorcycle here, I did not race this motorcycle or anything, and I only had it for a short time, and I did some trail riding on it. And it had a dual range transmission on it, and it was really good up in the mountains here. We went on a lot of trail rides. However, I hurt my knee very badly on this motorcycle, this little motorcycle. I was going up and down some little mounds of dirt that some dump trucks had piled up down in town, and I went down in between two of the piles, and the front wheel, instead of climbing up the next pile, dug in, and it had a choke lever, and you may be able to see it in this picture on the left hand side by the left hand mirror, and that choke lever went right underneath my kneecap. Very low speed accident, but man, I thought it didn't really do any damage, but boy, I sure laid there for a long time. I thought it ripped my kneecap off. But it was a good little motorcycle, and I don't ever remember what happened to it. Obviously I sold it, and I may have sold it when I bought this next motorcycle. This next motorcycle here was my pride and joy. I bought this motorcycle brand new, and I'm not sure, it was an early 70s Yamaha 250 MX. It was a very advanced motorcycle for the time and very, very powerful. This is us out, me and a friend of mine. I don't have a picture of him. I mean, I have a picture of him, but I'm not going to add it to this video. Out practicing at a earth dam, which is now called Tanawan, in Albuquerque. There are $1 million homes sitting on this area now, but we used to go out here and practice. Obviously, this was the middle of the winter, and those are us practicing out there. And I'm going to show you in these next few pictures why this was one of my favorites. And of course, this is just another shot, a little bit closer shot of the same motorcycle on the same day. I only can assume that obviously one of my buddies took this picture, but probably my other BSA buddy, and we'll get to that later on. But let me go ahead and show you, as I said, why this was my favorite one. Most of the reason it was my favorite is most of the trophies that you saw on the trophy shelf out there were one off of this motorcycle and the next one that you'll see. As you can see in this picture, there were a lot of serious flat track bikes here, and mine had no modifications other than a smaller wheel on the front and the fender taken off. The way these pictures used to work, they were taken by a company called Toro, and they would go to the track and they would take pictures of the winning riders in each one of the heat races, and then the next week you could stop at their booth and you could go through their prints and find the pictures of yourself, and then you could purchase them from them. But as you can see, that I don't have a lot of pictures of me winning anything. This is just one of the few races that I did get some pictures of. There were about 30 or so, probably about 25 guys racing in this novice class, and I was pretty proud of the achievements I made on this one. I would also like to point out to you in this particular shot here, those were lineman, I believe those were lineman boots that I had from the telephone company that I was wearing. Of course, jeans, I didn't have money for leathers, and a Yamaha motocross jacket and motocross gloves. What you will see in this picture is a Grant chin guard, and it was a standard helmet, and then Grant sold the chin guard that bolted to the helmet at the top and the bottom of the side over there. Once I got this chin guard, and you'll see it maybe in some of these other pictures, I immediately, when I got it and put it on the helmet, painted a little arrow on the center of it and put this end up on there. And honestly, it brought me quite a bit of luck over a period of time. Another fact that I'd like to tell you about this Grant chin guard is it worked well for me, and it saved my face in one accident that I had. And I'll get into that maybe in a little bit if I can remember to do it. Well, I'll do it now. I was in a race in Alamogordo, New Mexico. It was in a gravel pit, and I was on the BSA, and I went down for practice. You drop down into it, and I was with about 30 other guys. We dropped down into the pit. We're going around. The first turn I made, I lost control somehow. I don't know what happened to the motorcycle at all. Next thing I know, I was hitting the berm on the inside, and the next thing I knew, I was looking down at the ground from about 15 feet up and saw the motorcycle flat sideways going under me. And I remember on my left-hand side seeing a telephone pole going by. The next thing I remember is having somebody standing over me, a woman standing over me, and my glasses were gone, my nose was broken, the chin guard was missing. And I had 3 cracked ribs, and I had 2 broken fingers. I didn't get in a whole lot of accidents, but that was one of the more serious ones. And the thing was, I refused treatment, and I don't even remember seeing people to give me treatment, but they refused treatment there, or I refused treatment there, and I wound up getting back to Albuquerque. We drove back, and eventually in the next day or two I went to the hospital, and these were the things that were wrong. But it did break that chin guard, and it did break my nose. However, it did keep from breaking my chin and knocking my teeth out. So the other thing I was going to tell you is the guys that were buying the brand new Bell Star helmets at the time I had this, I saw at least two of those guys get in an accident, and the helmet lip was so low on your collarbone that when they got in an accident, it protected their head and their face, but it generally broke both of their collarbones. And I had two guys I knew that had that happen to them. Another interesting fact about this motorcycle is that I won an awful lot of races on this. I also won a hill climb. There's a trophy up there for hill climb. I won on this motorcycle by taking all the air out of the back tire and tightening down the rim locks on it. No, nothing else done to it with the exception of a new knobby tire on the back. And that day I beat a gentleman by the name of Dave Campo. And if you know anything about motorcycles, you may know the name Dave Campo. He set a land speed record and is in the Guinness Book. As far as I know, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for a land speed record with a twin-engine Harley Davidson Streamliner. And that day I beat Dave, and he was riding a Harley Davidson, obviously, with an extended frame, quite modified motorcycle, and a paddle tire on the back, and the whole 9 yards. And it was a heavy-duty hill climb motorcycle, and I whipped his hiney. I was pretty proud of that. Dave and I did some other racing together. We didn't know each other too well, but when I drag raced my Kawasaki Triple, which you'll see later on, I drag raced against him in ET when he had a full-blown drag bike, and I beat him a lot there too. But anyway, Dave was a good guy, and look him up. Okay, this bike, this is a BSA 500 Victor. This is what I bought after the Yamaha. I also won a lot of races on this. I did motocross this bike, but it was way heavy, and then I later on turned it into a flat tracker. The car is I think it was a 72 Impala, 71 or 72 Impala. Nice car, got me where I needed to go. This next shot is myself in front of my mother and father's house with my ex-wife. Not that I'm proud of that, but just polishing up the BSA when it was brand new. Here's another picture of it. And the next sequence of pictures I will try and explain as we go, but they're at the racetrack. Okay, and here we're fast forwarding some. That is me with the little red arrow there at the beginning of one of the seasons. Some of these guys, like the number 9 Canfield and those guys, they went on to get national numbers from here. But of course, I wasn't racing with some of these guys either. I had that single, and these guys were in a expert class and that kind of stuff. Bobby J from Bobby J's Yamaha in Albuquerque is down the road there a little ways. But anyway, this was opening day at one of the seasons, and I don't remember exactly when. And in this picture, you can see me going around. This is a place called Speedway Park. Used to be in Albuquerque. It's no longer there, of course, but we used to have a lot of fun there. And in this picture, you can see that I've got looks like a Yamaha or Triumph Twin out there and some other bike. But you can see these Bellstar helmets look like astronaut helmets, and on the number 19 out there you can actually see how close the bottom of that helmet is to their collarbone. And anyway, I didn't get a shot of a win here with this one, but it's just a shot of me on the BSA. Okay, in this picture here, this was a win that I got, and you can see that I have the fender gone. This young lady was obviously the trophy girl, and there's one of the trophies that's sitting on the shelf up there. I believe it was 1973. This race was one that I was most proud of. I won this race against several 750 Harley Davidsons, and this is a 1-mile track. Albuquerque Raceway. It was a horse track. They converted it into a motorcycle track for this race. And I beat these guys not on speed, but outmaneuvering and cutting the corners. I beat the guy by about half a bike length in the very end, but I was pretty proud of this one. Okay, and here we're just going to take a look at some motorcycles I owned. This is a 450 Scrambler. I have no idea what year it was. This was when I was living in Farmington. Of course, you can see my Pinto and my international travel-all. My dad was an international guy. I was married the first time then. This is in Albuquerque. I bought this little Kawasaki 400 wrecked and I put it back together, fixed it up, and sold it for some money. And this next motorcycle you'll see here is a little Kawasaki 400, and now we're going to look at some other pictures of it. These next two bikes here, that's a 900 on the left, and that is a 750 triple flat track bike, if you can imagine that. I've rode that in a drag race, and I've rode it around a flat track, and you couldn't even get it to hook up. But here's some more pictures of it coming. Now that 900 and the 750 flat tracker were not my motorcycles, they were my racing partners. The one in the middle is my 400 Kawasaki that you saw, and it has a fairing on it that I ran across somewhere. I got a good deal on it. It is called a super wedge. It made riding that bike very enjoyable on the road, which is what that bike was. I did drag race that bike a little bit, but I have an ad here for the super wedge that you can take a look at. The super wedge was a neat concept. The top part with the fairing, with the windshield on it and the hand guards, turned with the handlebars, where the bottom of it stayed solid with the motorcycle. I always kind of dug the way it looked. A lot of people think it's just uglier than snot. Um, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was, like I say, it made riding that little bike enjoyable, and it didn't hardly weigh anything, and you sure stuck out in a crowd. And now I'm just going to show you some pictures of me and my buddy and the same bikes. Nothing really going on here. Same setting in his mom's backyard. A lot of interesting stories there, but we won't go into that. But this is Mark and I just displaying the bikes in the backyard, and upcoming here is just another shot. It just happens to be the ones I have. For some reason, I kept some of these pictures, and or happened to have these pictures, and then the last shot is just a frontal picture of the same three motorcycles. By the way, that jacket I have on is a Kawasaki Mach 3 jacket I won in a national model contest of a motorcycle. Now I think we're going to move on to my 500. Okay, this bike here was a Kawasaki 500 triple. It was custom painted by my buddy's uncle. And interestingly enough, he painted all of Sun Oil Company's Indianapolis cars. He was a very good painter. He painted a van that I have that you may see later on when I do pictures of my cars and so forth, if I get to a video of that. You can see that this one is custom painted, has Denko pipes on it, has road racing carburetors on it, is ported and polished, K&N air filters. And at the end of this, I'll show you some time slips from this. But this was an extremely fast motorcycle for the time. And let's take a look at her. The gentleman's name was Bill Sheets, and what you're seeing on the top of the tank there is a thundercloud with a bolt of lightning going down and striking the tank. It was a really cool paint job. Got a lot of compliments on it all the time. The seat is custom upholstered, by the way. And now I'm going to show you some pictures and explain to you how these pictures came about. Now these pictures you're going to see, they were set up, obviously. We went out on the way up to the tramway, and we took these pictures after I got off work one day. These were taken by a gentleman by the name of John McKenna. He had a job at the phone company, came from New York, and he always told me that he was Pele, the soccer player Pele's personal photographer. I saw some of the work that he had done, but anyway, he was a good photographer, and he wound up setting us up out there and taking these shots. I have the negatives of these, and my son has printed some of these. They turn out much better on regular through the negative than they do me photographing a photograph. But you can see that the motorcycle had plenty of power. I just enjoyed riding this bike. Drag raced it a lot. Never had 1 ounce of trouble with this bike. Rode it for many years until the time that I got divorced and sold it.
Here's another, of course, burnout picture taken at the same period of time. And I think what I'm going to roll over into now is I don't have any really good drag racing pictures. I won't even talk during it. I'll just show you some of the pictures I did get from drag racing in Farmington one time. In this in this picture here, this is a picture of a guy named Bruce Costin in the leathers walking there. Mark is the one on the 19, and that is, I believe that's me on a little 125 twin there. I have a picture of that in the end. But anyway, his dad owned the Kawasaki shop in Albuquerque, and that's how we got a lot of parts and stuff. He was the third of the three musketeers, and that was a 900. Well, I don't know if that was a 900 that he had here, but anyway, he had an air shifter on it, and he had a turbo on it, and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, let's move on. This here is a shot of Bruce doing a wheelie on the way back to the starting line at the drag strip in Farmington. And let's see, we have something else coming up here, but I can't tell in the little picture what it is. That's Bruce heading down the strip. I believe, though, that's a 7. I said it was a 900, but I don't know if that's the 900 or a 750 triple. That's a picture of Mark on the 750 triple and Bruce on whatever it is he's driving. It does look like a two-stroke. This is me against somebody else, and I don't know where they are, probably long gone, on the little Yamaha 125 that I brought up there that day just to have fun. Actually, the only other thing I have for you guys is these time slips from the Albuquerque Dragway. This one obviously was a time trial before the races. You can see a 1375. I broke out on this one in the first race, 1363, and I think I dialed in a 1375. This last one was a win at 1402. Obviously, I hit the brake at the end. This is just a clip from the Albuquerque Tribune, dated December 17th, 1969, I believe. I can't read it on here. But anyway, it gives you an idea of where I got started.
Okay guys, with that said, this is my small accumulation of trophies. There's 2 trophies on there that are not motorcycle related. The rest of them all are motorcycle related. And I hope you enjoyed that step back in time today and the little glimpse back at my childhood and what I did when I was a young man. I never regret a moment of it. I have ridden motorcycles almost all my life. I've had some street bikes that I didn't put in here, but this is all about the vintage motorcycle stuff in my early days. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, guys.